I have to say I absolutely agree with Julie Patterson saying that double CPD for coming along on the holiday weekend tonight. Okay, so what I thought we'd start with is to go back to our very first session on using Sway and the information that we shared there, because I know that some of you didn't come along to our first session, and this is the first time you've come with us when we're looking at Sway in practice. So the very first thing that we did was we did the how-to session, as I mentioned, and then what we created for you was a wakelet. And that wakelet is, if you're not familiar what a wakelet is, it's a series of links and videos and information around how to use Sway. So I'm just going to pop that into the chat right now. I'm laughing at Julie's comment again. Thank you, Julie. So I popped that wakelet in there, and I'm just going to share my screen with you and take you through that very briefly so you understand what this is. So if you can give me a shout when you can see my screen.
Yep, all good, Pam.
Thanks, Julie. Okay, so this is the wakelet, and in here you will see that what we've done is we've given you some samples to refer to, which you can go back and look at after the session. And then what we've also done is we've created a video playlist of all the different bits that you aren't going to be shown how to do tonight, but if you're unsure, you can pop back and find out more. So just some information there. You can see there's about 30 videos, I think, of information. I'll keep scrolling. Apologies if you feel sick while I'm doing this very, very fast scrolling here. Just a little bit more information. And then at the end, more videos. Then we've got a paper guide for those of you who are people who like to follow along step by step. And then we've just got some other links and other video clips from other schools. Okay, so that is there for you to refer to, so that when we inspire you tonight, you'll have some great ideas. So one of the things that I wanted to do just before we get started is, if I can just remind everyone, pop your cameras off and stay on mute just now. There will be time for question and answer at the end. But one of the things that people often ask us about, and I'm just going to show you this as a little bit of fun. I'm going to show you how to embed a sway within a sway, because it's a question that's often asked, and that's going to be my starting point. So I'm going to share my screen again. Again, Julie, can you just shout out when you can see it?
Yep, all good, Pam.
Fabulous, thank you. So this is a sway that I created earlier on, and I just want to show you quickly how we embed a Office 365 document in here. In this case, what I'm going to do is I'm going to embed a survey. So I put a wee heading card in called Survey Feedback, and I am going to go to the plus button. Then I'm going to go to Media, and I'm going to click on Embed. And what that does is it pops in an embed card, and then I need to get the code. So I'm going to go to another sway, which I have open here, which is just my survey response. And I'm going to go to the Share button. And there's that embed code. You can see the link, the image is the same. So if I click on Get Embed Code, what I need to do now is copy to clipboard. And you'll see it now says copied. I'm going to pop back to my original sway, and it says paste your embed code here. So I'm just going to use Control V, and that's it pasted. So when I play this, I'm going to use my wee quick menu, and I know that that was on, if I scroll along, I know that was survey feedback. So I'm just going to click on there, and there you will see my sway that I'd already created is embedded in here. Now, if you're thinking about using this with a class, you've set all your learners to create sways, and they've all created sways perhaps on a book report or something similar. And then what you want to share that with parents, then you just embed those sways in there, and the parents will be able to scroll through that. Absolutely no problem. So that's how you embed a sway in a sway. But it works the same way if you're embedding any other document. And again, in the Wakelet, there is a little video on how to do that. Okay. One more little hint and tip that I just want to point out from the Wakelet is just around an idea of using comparison images. So I'm just going to start sharing my screen again. And if you can give me a shout when you can see that. Sorry, it's not coming up. Let me try that again. We had an engineer out and switched off my electricity earlier, and things haven't quite got back to normal since then. Is that working now?
Yep, that's you, Pam.
Fabulous. Thank goodness for that. Okay, so you can see I've got a little comparison card here. And again, this is thinking in practice, how could I use this? So one of the tools that you have within your add button is your group, and you have this nice wee comparison image. So when I saw this, I started thinking about flashcards. If you're studying, it's nothing to do with my boys having been through exams with them this year. Nothing to do with that at all. And it made me think about how useful that would be. So you can see I've added in comparison, and you've got these two spaces here to add an image. Now you can click on add an image, or you can simply open the images that you want to use. So I've set them up as my wee screenshots. So I have got my question 1 flashcard, which I am simply going to drag and drop. You can see how it says copy into that first space. And then I'm going to put in my answer and drop that in there. So I've got a wee question and an answer. All right. And what I'm going to do is, once that's loaded, I'm going to click play. Again, use my wee menu to navigate to my comparison cards, and here I am. And you can see that this is the comparison image. Again, this could be really useful if you had a couple of art pictures that you wanted to do a comparison between. You could have the two images superimposed on top of each other. So here you are, here's the question, and I flick back, and there's the answer. So it's a great way certainly for pupils, for young people who are taking exams or something. It's a really useful way to do that. Okay, and I've got one more thing to show before I pass over to our presenters today, and that's just, I'm going to show you very quickly how to leave an audio file, because people often ask about this and how useful that is. Again, thinking about using with pupils, you're going to, especially with younger learners, they can create the sway and they can do their voiceover on that. So I've just stuck a wee title, using audio files. Again, I'm going to hit the plus button, go to media, and this time it's audio. Now, ideal if your learners have perhaps done a voiceover for a series of images that they have done, this can be easily uploaded into the sway. You add the images in, and if they've already created the audio file, you just simply click on add audio file. However, you have the facility just to record live. So if you hit record, it tells you it's getting ready, and then you go. I'm really excited to share this story with you today. I hope you enjoy what I've done. Now, you can pause it and go back to it if you want, and when you're happy, you just hit the stop button. You have the option to listen back to it. Now, if I play it, you won't hear it, but I know I'm happy with that, and I'm just going to click add to sway. And what that will do is it will process in the background, and when it's ready, you'll see that it appears up here. Okay, so you can see it gives you a wee message, and then you can come back to it later. So I'm going to stop sharing my screen just now, and I'll show you that after our first presenter. Okay, I hope that gave you a flavour of some of the things that you'll find in the Wakelet in terms of the to-dos, but also maybe started you thinking about some ideas of how you might use it. And at the end, I'm hoping that we can have a go at that together with a wee Menti to tell me what ideas you've had. Okay, so I am delighted to say that I managed to twist some arms of some people who have been using Sway out there in our schools. So I'm delighted that we've got Lindsay Melrose from St Andrews Academy, and she's the deputy head there, and Lindsay's going to share her journey. We've also got Miss Allen from St Andrews, who's a music teacher there, who's also going to share their journey. We've got Julie Patterson, our Literacy Development Officer, who's going to share some of her ideas. And all being well, Tracy Scott from Auchinleudman is going to join us in a wee bit and share how she's been using Sway as well. And Tracy actually came along to our first Sway session back in March or May. I can't remember off the top of my head. So fantastic. So I'm going to start off with Lindsay. Let me know, Lindsay, if you have any issues sharing your screen or anything.
Okay, thanks, Pam. So at St Andrews Academy, we've been using Sway for a number of years. We started off using it primarily with our learners. It sort of started to pop up on Glow. I started to see it on Twitter, and at the time we actually had 2 student teachers in the department for a couple of placements, and we gave them the wee project to go and finding out all about it and developing a few lessons, and it's just grown from there. So I'll share my screen in a second, and I'll just show you some of the sort of work that our learners would do. But usually it's in first and second year. It's when they're doing their ICT periods, and we used it for a topic where pupils are sort of researching future and emerging technologies. And this for ICT was quite a literacy heavy topic for us. And initially we were using PowerPoint for it, and we found that the actual content wasn't great. The pupils sort of, they were spending too much time messing about with the layout on PowerPoint, and at that point when we were starting to use Sway to get videos into PowerPoint, you were actually still copying embed codes from YouTube and all sorts of things to get things to play. And Sway just took all of that away, and it actually allowed our first and second years just to focus on the actual content that they wanted in their Sway. So we still do the same topic today. We're about to do it to tie in with the sort of CEOP conference that's happening. They'll be doing that topic during that week. So I'll share my screen and just show you well, it's just one of the pupils' work from that topic from a few years ago. Can you see that okay? Is that sharing?
Yeah, that's it, perfect.
So, you know, the topic that they were working on was they were to pick an emerging technology, research it, and then sort of collate what they'd found about that topic. And Sway worked really well for this. So this pupil has done theirs on driverless cars, and the quality of what they actually produced was much, much higher, the content, because they weren't spending so long actually messing about with the layout of their slides and the background colours. And they were able to embed lots of their videos. So there's a couple of videos that this pupil's put in there, but the actual quality of the content was really high, much higher than we were getting from them before when they were using PowerPoint. And one of the things that actually the pupils love and that we like as well, I'll show you that in a second when I go to edit this, is that when they are actually, once they've got their content in, and the styles, they just keep clicking that remix until they get it looking the way they want, which is just, everything just works. It's so much easier than them trying to get it all into PowerPoint. So that's how we use it with our learners. In terms of our staff, during the sort of school closures was when our staff started to really use Sway to create their lessons. And that was really as a result of, during the first school closure, our school had Satchel 1, and that's what we used as our sort of homework app. And that was what we were using initially to get work out to pupils. But what we were finding was that when we were looking at the resources that we were using to deliver a lesson, we were coming in and we maybe had a PowerPoint, then we had a YouTube video that we wanted to watch. We maybe had a website link that the pupils would have used to complete the task. Then we might have had a set of notes and then a Word document or a PDF with the activity. So sometimes teachers were uploading sort of 5 different attachments to one post. And that was tricky for our younger learners to navigate what they were to do. And it was tricky for staff to try and explain to pupils exactly what they were to do for that lesson, for that piece of work. And that's where SWE really came into its own. So this lesson here, I can go on to it. This is actually one for higher computing science, but and I'm sure Amanda, when she comes on, will show you some of the ones that the music department created as well. But this allowed us basically to send out one link to pupils that had absolutely everything for that lesson in it. So it had all the content. And this one is actually this was a PowerPoint that I had that I just converted into a SWE. I didn't have to sort of recreate it. You can just create your SWE from your PowerPoint. It's got the video embedded into it. It's got all the notes that they need, and then it's quite a long one, this one, because it's quite a big lesson. When I scroll right down to the end, it then has their actual questions embedded in there as well for them to do in a form, and that's kind of the format that we then started to use for our lessons, which meant it was really easy for the pupils if they were working on, it didn't matter what device they were working on, they were able to access all of the content that we were sending out. If we created SWEs, it just removed so many issues that we were having during the sort of, particularly the first lockdown before we started really pushing Teams. But we've now got these lessons created and they're sitting there, and it's great because we're still using Teams and we're able to, even though we're delivering that in class and we're discussing it all and the sort of method of delivery is slightly different, that link to that SWE is still being posted in the children's Teams for them to look at while they're actually completing the activities or to use for revision at home. So that is how our staff have sort of started to use it to develop their lessons. And then as a school, we are now sending out everything, all of our school communications to parents via text messages with a link to a SWE. So I've got an example of our sort of February newsletter. I picked this one because it's actually quite a lot of content in it. And just the fact that we can put our links in there to the school website, we can put our links into the council updates, to the documents on there, and then links to other SWEs, which I know Pam's just shown you there, but that there takes you to a link to another SWE that we'd created for parents just as a sort of guide to learning at home. So one link out via text message is giving the parents really loads and loads of information. There, I think there's some videos on here for parents, just in pupils, just to show them how to actually perform tasks. So it's been a great app for us. I can't see us ever going back to using anything else. So hopefully you found some of that useful. I know that's maybe, when I looked at the chat there and I saw there was a lot of primary and early years here, I thought, oh, this is maybe pitched a wee bit high, but I'm sure you'll be able to see how you can take that and transfer it to your own learners, whatever stage they're at.
Fantastic, thank you so much. Thank you. I'll give you a wee round of applause there, Lindsay. I'm going to open it up just now then, and because I think it's best to do this after each person presents. Has anybody got any questions for Lindsay following on from that? And please don't be afraid to turn your camera on and turn your mic on, or if you don't have access, just pop it in the chat. I've got a question, Lindsay. Have you had any feedback from parents about how they found that in terms of the newsletters and things like that?
Yeah, I think it certainly reduced the amount of email traffic and phone calls that are coming in to the school office. And what's been really useful for us is in those newsletters, we've always got the link for parents to be able to email. It's a wee form if they need access to Satchel 1 or if their child's forgotten their GLOW details, which has been massive for us because that used to generate a lot of emails that would go to the wrong people, that would take days to get to who needed to sort it, and that's been really huge. So yeah, I think the feedback has been good, but no, we haven't actually asked parents in terms of a survey, but
messages that you're allowed to use. So you can see that I have included, this is linked direct from their YouTube channel, so this has open copyright, and they're more than happy for you to use these. And really there's just an opportunity for parents to find out what sounds have the children been learning. They can sing together at home if they want to. Then there is a wee sort of video with another link to alpha blocks. And really I've just gone through the sounds so that the children have the familiarity of the songs between home and school. And I did try to put on a few additional activities as well, but the websites were blocked because we are on corporate accounts. But that is just one really simple example of how you might use it within looking at sounds. Pam, can I just check if we go on to the next one? Can you check? We should be seeing the lovely Dolly Parton now.
We are indeed. Always makes you smile.
Always makes you smile. And on that note, if you know of any children aged 2 to 5 who live in Renfrewshire, did you know that they are entitled to a free book each month through Dolly Parton's Imagination Library? Just had to get that in there because we're looking to try and increase registrations. I can't take credit for this one. This was shared by one of our early learning and childcare centres. I see there's a few of you on the call today. We know how hard it is, that particularly when lots of children are collected from nursery by maybe a grandparent or a childminder or another relative. Maybe information doesn't necessarily make it home, and at the moment we're all trying to be mindful of what we send between home and school. So I thought this was a really great example that they had put together to promote the Imagination Library programme that could either be emailed out to parents, the link could be put on Seesaw, all the usual digital tools that we use to communicate with our parents. And they very kindly included links to our social media channels. They've let you know who their key contacts are. Also included some lovely pictures of themselves as well. And really they've just gone through different headings within the Sway to be able to add a little bit more information about the programme, what it is, how it works. It's not too complicated though. What we have found, there was one website that suggested, if you have too many clicks within a Sway, people get a bit lost. So I like how they've kept it, they're reading to an absolute minimum so that busy parents can have a wee look at it and can click on some areas to go and find a wee bit of additional information. And most importantly, that guidance for parents on how to register their child. So it could have been sent out in a newsletter, but I actually think it's quicker to read via a Sway, and there's an awful lot more information on there that has been really, really nicely presented. So just when you thought your holiday weekend couldn't get off to a better start, I bring you some Dolly Parton. Pam, can I just check now that you're seeing some colours poems?
Yeah, we can see them. Brilliant.
Yep. Okay, so this could be used in a couple of different ways. Either you could ask your children to share and publish their work in writing on Sway, or this is something that you could create and then ask your parents to provide some feedback. You'll know if you've done any of our writing courses that we very much encourage collaborative writing. We want the children to get meaningful feedback and we want them to be seen as authors, which means publishing their work. But that doesn't always have to be done by simply writing it out again and displaying it on a wall or typing it up to be displayed in a class book. This is almost using Sway as an online poetry anthology creation tool, which I think the children would really enjoy. So you can see we've chosen a lovely colourful background with our title, a little bit about what the children have been doing, and then these are actual examples of poetry that's been done with children and young people. Now, you might think it takes an awful lot of time if this is going to be teacher-led to type up this information. What you could do is just take a photograph using any mobile device, an iPad, etc., and you could use Office Lens to convert the text into typed text. These were really short, but for extended pieces, you might want to think about doing that just to save yourself a wee bit of time. But you can see how the children would find this quite straightforward, adding their own heading, typing up their text, or using Office Lens to add their text, and then just adding a very, very simple illustration. And you can see that we're highlighting the difference between, a class piece of poetry, two children working together, and then one child working independently. And what's really nice about this is that if you do publish it on either your school website, on a blog, or on something like Seesaw or any of your other parental engagement tools, they can then comment on the children's work. And so it gives them that sense of being authors, it gives them that sense of feedback, and it allows the children to collaborate to create something that, it's not just a paper copy of a book, they actually have an online version. And that can be used to share your work with other classes across the school too, so that they can see, what each other have been up to. There's loads of different bits of potential there, but I wanted to kind of share one early learning example, one sort of lower school example, and one middle to upper. So I hope that gives you a few ideas, but my biggest piece of takeaway advice would be, don't make it too complicated. Keep it simple, because that keeps it manageable. There are some really great tools that if you want to add more to it, you can. It can be teacher-led, it can be child-led, but in anything that I'm doing from this point, and I always think about, can I do this via Sway? You know, is there another digital tool that I could be using? And just really thinking about some of the traditional approaches that we use and determining if it could be done via Sway instead. So that's just the 3 really quick ideas. I'm happy to take any questions on those.
Fabulous, Julie, thank you.
Have I stunned everyone into submission?
No, please pop your camera on, ask, and your mic, obviously, and ask Julie any questions.
They're all the way to the pub, Pam.
I know, to be fair, holiday weekend, what was I thinking? I loved your Office Lens tip. Thank you for that. Just a wee reminder that that's another Microsoft tool that you can download on your iPads, on your phones. And as Julie said, it scans handwritten text and converts it into typed text as well. Also, when Julie was mentioning the poems, you could use your audio there and the kids could record themselves reading their poems too, which is another brilliant idea. Julie, the Dolly Parton one, how can you tell us how that was received by the ELC parents?
Seems to have gone down really well. I think parents nowadays do prefer, rather than having to search through, you know, school bags or nursery bags, because there's a number of different initiatives going on, all competing for attention. I think actually just having that link via a newsletter, and for that particular establishment, we've noticed that the number of registrations has gone up. So particularly in the current climate where you can't have those same conversations, you know, at pick up and drop off times as you maybe normally would, it provides a really good engaging alternative. So yeah, and you know what, it made me smile when I opened it up and I saw it. It's just really bright, really visually appealing, really engaging, and you can't achieve the same through a piece of paper that's been run off on the photocopier.
Absolutely, I love it. Well, thank you so much, Julie. Can I ask everybody to turn their cameras on and give Julie a clap? Yay, well done.
I am curtsying. I am curtsying, honest. Thanks, everyone.
Brilliant, thank you. Fabulous, thank you so much, Julie. That's brilliant. Okay, I'm now going to hand over to Amanda, who, as I said earlier, is from St Andrews, sitting very nervously waiting for her slot, I'm sure. Thank you so much, Amanda.
Hi there. Right. I don't know if I can get control yet. Here we are. Right, can you tell me, can you see a radio advert using Reaper? Yep.
We can.
So I've got a few different Sways opened to show you. This is one of the ones that I've used. I kind of first came across Sway in about 2018, and initially I had looked at using it as a music department newsletter. And the reason I kind of came away from the idea was because Microsoft actually stopped backing up the app that they had. They actually had an app for the phone, and it was really easy to use Sway on your phone as well, and you could create Sways through the app, and they'd done away with the app. So it made me a wee bit nervous that they were going to do away with Sway altogether. So I had kind of come away from it, and during the pandemic, we kind of re-engaged my love of Sway and what it can do, and this was a great way for us to deliver for kids, especially in the music department, to deliver things like Lindsay was saying earlier, everything in the one place, because what we were finding is to get people to engage in music online was pretty difficult, and especially doing practical work. And the same thing that was said earlier, we were having to upload, you know, different types of music, different links to different things, and pupils found it difficult to kind of navigate their way around it. So this particular project was one that I used with my higher music technology class, and basically it gives them their tasks. It talks about using a particular music tech program that they could get online. It's got the task in it, and what I did was created a series of video lessons myself using Loom, where I talked them through how to download it, how to do the settings, and they went through and watched the videos and then applied them to their own projects at home. So they did step by step and went through and applied what I was doing at the time. So they watched the video, it's a few minutes long, and then applied it to their project. And then what you can see is we kind of get them started on the project and the various steps that we're going to do. What they did need for this, because it was a music tech project, was they needed music and various audio files that I provided them with, and I'd uploaded them in their Teams, so they only had to download one folder from Teams. There's videos embedded from YouTube explaining basic effects and things that they could add and how to do their project, and all of these was me walking through the project that I recorded on Loom. So it was basically like a kind of teacher-led lesson, but via Sway, and it was still my voice and everything they were hearing over it, and then they could submit to me at the end of it. And actually, I thought this was probably going to be used as a kind of one-off, maybe not use it again, but actually this year delivering music tech, I actually used this in the classroom again. Myself and another teacher co-teach it this year, and we used the Sway again, and everything was already there. They could go back and watch the videos, so although I was showing them live how to do things in class, they could go back and then re-watch it if they weren't sure and apply it to the project that they were sitting working on, or doing at home. Some of the other things that we've used it for is so this was during the pandemic again, but this has now been used as a revision aid, like Lindsay had said earlier on. So this was for pupils coming into higher music last year, and what I did was get your higher music 20th century. So this is a kind of understanding music listening unit, and what I've got at the beginning is like a kind of little Nat 5 recap. So I've got all the concepts that they should know, and then a video that I created using another online video creator that basically plays them all the different types of music and points out all the different things that they should already know from Nat 5. So it's a whole revision video in kind of 9 minutes. And then they have to do a quiz using Microsoft Form. So the form is already embedded in it, and the audio for the form is embedded right underneath it. So they play the audio. So this audio was created using Audacity. Obviously for music it's a bit more difficult. Everything's got to be kind of audio based and the like. So this has a voiceover talking them through like section 1, question 1. Then it plays the music for them, and then they go through and answer their form and then submit it at the end. The results come straight to us, give them a quick preview, and then they move on with what's new and higher. So the same thing, they learn all the things that they've got to cover in higher. There's videos embedded, there's pictures embedded, and the same when we get right down to the bottom. So it highlights new features. Sorry if I'm scrolling quite fast and making you a bit dizzy here. There's just a lot of information. And again, then we've got the second quiz embedded again on a form with the audio that leads them through the form, and that gave us a kind of snapshot of where they were at in their learning for that subject being delivered online. So now these forms are there that we can use. We can put this out to use for revision, and also the forms are there that we can use either in class as a quick quiz, or it can be assigned for homework. We had kind of went down the Sway option because it's so easy to access on your mobile phone, and the kids really, you know what they're like with their mobile phone, especially in secondary school, they're glued to them. And what we've found is by putting up the Sway links, they're much more likely to press on that and click it and look through it, on the bus, on their way home, and they're sitting watching something else. And they've said that themselves, whereas it's more hassle to get in and set up, maybe open up a PowerPoint, open up the clips, all the various things. But because Sway has everything in it, they're more likely to click through it and kind of follow through. And hopefully take in some of the information that's there. So these Sways now are being used for revision for us. We've used them for a kind of few performing things. So we had a dance monkey one, we had a sea shanty one that we put out, and basically the same things. You've got your learning intentions and all that on it. We get a wee video clip of what the Wellerman sea shanty was, a bit of history about it, And then further down, we have little videos showing them how to set up virtual keyboards or xylophones and things on their phones, so that they could still play something. And we've got some great videos from some of the pupils from last year, recording these and sending them in. All the sheet music is then attached for them, so they can have all that up on the screen as well. And we also gave it to them via Teams and that, so that if they wanted it, they could have it. And then we've got backing tracks in at the back that they can practice with. So for us, obviously in music, lots of audio and video equipment, like lots of AV stuff going on that maybe you wouldn't use quite so much in other places. But for us, it's been the easiest way for us to get them to click on audio and be able to access it. There's one here that's just a very quick quiz, and it's got a form embedded in it with the audio above it. And what we were finding previously is when we were sending out a form, for them to get access to audio, we either had to put it in a shared folder or a drive, or the audio was too big to email, and there was all this kind of going to and forward. So by being able to, just sending out a simple quiz form in there and the audio at the top of it, and the pupils were able to access it straight from their phones. That's just a few of the ways that we've used it.
Fantastic, Amanda, that's amazing. It just made me think, if only I could have taken higher music or Nat 5 music, that would certainly have helped me get through it.
We can send you a sea shanty to play.
Loving the sound of that, absolutely brilliant, fabulous. And one of the things as you were talking there that came to mind is around the fact, one of the features of Sway is the fact that if you make any changes to that Sway, it's the same link that you've shared with the pupils and it automatically updates it. So that's really good. Also great if you're doing it as a newsletter, somebody mentioned earlier. You don't need to keep sending out a new link. It just auto updates it. And your forms, just that, how easy it is to use that embed code to pop your forms in there.
It's great. It really did help us actually cut down on a lot of marking when we were doing online learning. And now it's just a brilliant tool for pupils who are either off absent or who are having to self-isolate or, that are falling behind, and a great revision tool to put out. So we've really loved using it in the department.
Fantastic. Okay, has anybody got any questions for Amanda there? Anything they want to hear from her about? I think you've just stunned everybody into silence. Fabulous. Oh, absolutely brilliant. Right, everybody, pop your cameras on and let's give Amanda a big round of applause. I should be doing my proper round of applause here. Well done.
Thank you.
Fantastic. Thank you so much, Amanda. That was super. I couldn't see who that was that flashed up with a wee one there. You were getting a round of applause from them as well. Oh, there we go. It's Heather. Fabulous. Brilliant. Now, unfortunately, I can see, I'm just going to double check. Tracy, are you there? No. Okay. Unfortunately, I thought this might be the case. Tracy's not able to make it to us today. So we will just leave it with those examples. But just before I let you go, I'm going to pop into the chat. For those of you who are up for earning some CLPL and you actually get a wee badge for this, I've popped into the chat. There's something called Digital Storytelling with Microsoft Sway, which is a Microsoft it's called the MEC, which is their offering where you can go and you can earn badges. And that one there is all about using Microsoft Sway. So it tells you how to do it, but it also gives you ideas as well. So hopefully those of you who want to go away and count this towards your CLPL. I mean, Julie did say coming on a holiday weekend, you get double. So there's an extra wee bit as well if you fancy going for that. The final bit that I want to do is I've got a wee Menti for you. So I want you to reflect back on all of the things that you heard today, and all being well, hopefully this will work and my Wi-Fi won't crash on me. And I want you just to go in there and to pop in your thoughts on what you saw today And what we've got is you don't need to just have one, you can add 3, 4 or 5 of them. And all you have to do is submit in there, and hopefully then we'll get to see what everyone thinks before you go. So give you a chance to click on that, and then I'm going to share what everybody is thinking. Go for it. I'm going to mute myself for a second. That's great to see what you're all thinking about. Popping them in. I'll let it run for a wee bit more, and then there we go. Fabulous. Oh, flipped classroom, I'm loving that. Pupil presentations, fabulous. Audio quizzes, oh, that's a great idea. Yeah, love it. Fabulous. Okay, I'm just going to open up just now to give you a chance to ask any questions. And if there's anything else, if not, I'm going to put the evaluation into the chat so that I could please ask you to fill out the evaluation. It will be sent out by the CPD team as well, but it's really important that we evaluate these just so that we're clear about what people think is working, what's not working, but also at the bottom of the form there's an opportunity to say if there's anything else that you would like from us. So any questions, stick your cameras on just now while I get the evaluation. Unfortunately, we didn't record the first meeting. Well, it's not unfortunate, we didn't record the first meeting because everything's in the Wakelet. So I did little videos of everything that I shared on the day. So if you go into the Wakelet, which I shared in the chat a bit earlier, all of the things are in there, Heather. Any more questions? Brilliant, good, good. Right, let me just pull up the link to the evaluation, and then I will let you all go and enjoy your holiday weekend. And thank you for coming along and being dedicated and doing this on a holiday weekend. Well done, everybody. I'm going to stop the recording now.